So we're going to be installing a sink today. Before we install the sink though, we're going to have to disassemble the sink. So one of the biggest concerns that you need to think about whenever you're installing any type of plumbing work is to think about water. So today what you would probably have, which we don't have here, is you'd have a pan underneath here because this trap is going to be filled with water. And most of this is usually hand tight. So we're just going to loosen it up. And so this would be full with water, and you would probably just empty it into the bucket that you have. Next, we're going to loosen these areas up. And I'll notice something here. This wasn't installed right, and we're going to talk about that when we put it back together correctly, okay? So, shouldn't have much water coming out of this, but we'll set it to the side. Next thing we want to do is turn the water. We'll turn the water valves off. And then what you could do is take an adjustable wrench to begin to remove this, but this one's a little bit too small. So we can use a multiple tool, kind of a multi-tool for plumbers. And it's got kind of a nice opening right there, so you can get it around the opening that you need. So since we've turned this off, there's not going to be water coming out of it. Might be a little bit, so it's good to also have a rag around. And we're going to put this one on over here. Alright, so again, we'd have a rag to clean up any loose water that might be draining from the lines, or you might can drain it into the pan there. And then this other part of the drain will take off as well too. Okay. So now we've pretty much disconnected everything. Sometimes there's clamps underneath the sink that you'll have to loosen to get the sink off. You might even have to get a little razor blade to go around the sink, because usually the sink is attached with some silicone or something like that, but it should be free to go. And we got some parts coming off there. Those are the strainers. So this is what keeps the food out of the drains there. So I'll move those over and put them to the side. And I'm gonna loosen the supply lines right here. And we'll just kind of use, again, the other end of the plumber's multi-tool. You can take this part out, and so it's this other part here. So this allows several different locations here that we can begin to hold this where it needs to be to begin to loosen up the faucet. And once I kind of get it loose, I can spin it off by hand there. Okay, so there's your faucet, and notice there's kind of a gasket here. One of the more common repairs on a faucet is in here there's a valve, and that valve sometimes it wears out, and so it's just kind of a little cartridge. And what you do is you can just take off the cap here, and there's a little set screw in here that you can loosen this set screw out, pull this off, and then you can pull the valve out, the cartridge. You can replace it and then you put it back on. So that's usually where a faucet leaks the most. Next, we're going to go ahead and take out one of the sink strainers here. So if you notice, it says remove this side only, and I'm going to hold it on the back side so it won't spin. This is kind of a hand tight process for this demonstration. And okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the next part off for the drain, and we'll talk about that when we go to reinstall it. So you've got, I'm going to go ahead and take this one off too. Just this top part off. So then when we go back to install it, typically you use something called plumber's putty that you put, it's almost like bubble gum, but it never gets hardened, and you put it around there to help provide a seal that you need. Also interesting to note, if you notice the gasket here, it also has a smaller kind of like thin cardboard gasket. And it's strange but true that this cardboard gasket is needed for this to actually have a proper seal, because I know from first experience I didn't think that was needed, and didn't put that on there, and I had a leak. So it helps allow the gasket to maintain its position without it being twisted. So anyway, we would put plumber's putty on there in real life, but we're not going to for this. So now we're going back to reassemble. So I'll put this back under here, and the main gasket, and then the smaller gasket as we spoke of. These threads are kind of fine threads, so you need to make sure you get them where it needs to be. You could have your lab partner hold it in place for you as needed, but you never want to force the threads if they don't want to go. You need to find out why it's not going, and maybe you have it crooked to get it in the direction it needs to go. So we don't need to get this one super tight, but the next thing we're going to do is install the beginning of the drain line here. So you can see this has a little flange there, and that's the part that goes down. So next you'll notice some of these little grooves right here on the sink. This would be part of a clamping system to clamp the sink to the countertop, but we don't have them on here just because we have this on and off a lot. I'll go ahead and put the faucet back in place again, and sometimes you can run silicone, a clear silicone in there to kind of keep any kind of water from penetrating that area. Same thing is true with the threads on the faucet. You want to make sure that you're not forcing them, because if you do, that could cause you to have to go back to the supply store and get some other plumbing parts. You don't ever want to take all your time making trips back and forth to the store. So again, these you could just kind of get hand tight. If you wanted to use the multi-tool, you could give it a little bit of a snug. And I'm wanting to make sure that I'm careful with the faucet now, because I don't want to bend or crack the faucet. That's why I'm holding it at an angle. So now we're going to go back to installing the supply lines. If you notice, there's some a rubber gasket in there. You don't want to over tighten that, because that could cause it to have a leak. So typically with these, you would just get it to finger tight, and then you can use some other wrenches or adjustable wrenches, and probably go like a quarter of a turn after that. So about a fourth of a turn, a little bit more here. Fourth of a turn after that. So one is cold and one is hot. And again, work with your partner to help support this for you, so you can get some help to make sure the sink doesn't get damaged. So we'll go again, just a quarter of a turn, just for demonstration purposes. And these are channel locks. And they're not the best tool for this application. Really, you would want to have probably a larger adjustable wrench for this one. Okay, so put this little cap back on. Now we'll go ahead and install the sink. And then you also would want to have probably some silicone to go around to the sink. As you would press it in, also to keep water from penetrating this countertop. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and install the supply lines back where they belong. Again, just finger tight. And I like to leave these off for now, because we don't have the drain system in place yet. So we'll talk a little bit about how the drain system works. This washer, you can see that it has a taper to it, it has an angle to it, and that's going to help provide a good seal when we go install it into here. So I can kind of leave this slightly loose, because we might want to move this backwards or forward depending on our setup there. So the next one here, this one doesn't have a washer on it, and again, we can kind of hand tighten that one as well. And now we want the washers. So the washers are going to sit in there like so. That's why they have a taper to them. So we'll let's see, first we need to put this on first, and then we'll have that taper down like that. That way it'll sit down where it needs to go. So again, we'll put this one on here first with the taper down. Kind of rest on that. So we have, this one's not installed correctly either. So we'll put the taper again facing the line that it needs to go on. And so you can kind of just put everything up there slightly as it should go. Then as you start seeing that everything's coming together as it should, then you can start tightening everything down a little bit better. If you had any leaks from the drain system, it would be somewhere around these joints here. All right, so looks like we have everything pretty much there. We would tighten these down with the adjustable wrench again, 1/4 of a turn. Not over tightening them, but with the wrench, 1/4 of a turn. If there's a little bit of a leak there, you might want to tighten it just a little bit more. But we're going to pretend for now that we have it tightened correctly. We'll turn the water back on. And the lines would begin to fill. If these valves would be on, you'd hear water running right now. And sometimes it's good to purge some of the air from the lines as the water's coming up, so kind of spit and stuff for a while and purge some air out. And so at this point you would just be checking to make sure that we didn't have any leaks from this location, that we don't have any leaks from up here at the top of the faucet, down here lower, or any of this. So we could run water in either side, just double checking to make sure that everything was going together well and wasn't leaking. So hope you learned a lot from this lesson here, and it'll get you ready for the next activity.